The Office of Contract Compliance is part of the Bureau of Contract Administration. We're part of the Department of Public Works. Our primary goals are to expand the contracting opportunities for everyone: minority, women, small, emerging, disabled veterans, local businesses. The city wants to make sure that large companies don't come in and take all of the contracting dollars that could be shared with smaller companies that aren't big enough to bid on contracts as primes.
A lot of these capital projects are taxpayer-funded public dollars. So the return should bring benefits back to the funders, in essence, of these projects. So with respects to the local taxpayers who help to underwrite really the cost of infrastructure improvements or facility improvements, they really should benefit from the contract opportunities that these projects generate. And the benefit back to the City of Los Angeles is the more contracting dollars they spend locally, the more those dollars stay local.
Our goal is for our contracts to reflect the constituency of the city. Census data shows that locally in the LA area, a certain percentage of businesses are of a minority or women-owned nature. And when you look at that breakdown in terms of business ownership in LA and look at what it appears to be in terms of, say, construction contracting and public works, that data should pretty closely mirror it, and it's not happening. That's why these programs were developed, to level the playing field, make it a more equal playing field. Proposition 209 precludes governmental agencies from giving any preference based on race or gender. So the best we can do is to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance at having a bid submitted and it being looked at. The Office of Contract Compliance, it gives other companies that haven't had the experience or the opportunity of working on city contracts a chance to compete. That advantage we see as helping the city as a whole.
More dollars spent locally create more local jobs and actually generate greater tax revenue back to the city. Really, public contracting is one of the oldest forms of economic stimulus.
A prime contractor has to utilize a certain percentage of DBE firms on federally funded projects. So if you are a disadvantaged business enterprise, and that's not necessarily just race or gender, but also the size. So it's a small company. You're increasing your likelihood of getting that contract. And there's a certification process to make sure that these are legitimate small or minority-owned businesses. The certifications are available online at bca.lacity.org, and you can also access them as the applications through the Business Assistance Virtual Network, which is at labavn.org.
Becoming certified gives you instant status with companies and public agencies that are looking to engage folks that bring what we bring to bear. Without being certified, I don't want to say you don't exist, but in the arena of public contracting, you're virtually invisible.
If you are going to have a contract with the city, you have to register, but there's no cost to that registration, so it's a big benefit.
If you qualify, it's a benefit to you to capture those certifications because that opens up other marketplaces of potential opportunity.
The Business Assistance Virtual Network was set up several years ago, and the idea behind it was simply for it to be a one-stop place. The city has many, many departments. The BAVN is the place where every city department is supposed to advertise every contract.
Rather than you having to wade through what could be hundreds of bids that don't pertain to your business, you can put in criteria specific to your business so that you're getting bid announcements specific to your business.
The best thing about a website like this is it's transparent, so everyone can see what we are offering for contracting opportunities, who they're outreaching to, their reasons for either selecting or rejecting someone who submitted a sub-bid to them. It's all part of the contracting process to make it transparent for the city. There are all types of contracts that the city offers, from construction of our municipal facilities, animal shelters, our sewers, our streets, street lighting, to personal services and vendors. So it's a wide open field for any business that's interested in contracting with the city, and that's where the Business Assistance Virtual Network is really the best place to go to find out about that.
The intention is having business in the city of Los Angeles reflect the diversity and the demographics of Los Angeles.
Register at labavn.org. It can literally pay to be a disadvantaged business enterprise.
I'm on my route today, sweeping certain areas to find stuff that's illegally dumped. And voila, I found this. It's not what they call a jackpot, but it's pretty big. This is a prime dump spot because I've been here several times in the last few weeks. People just seem to come and just put all their stuff right over here.
LA Sanitation is charged with protecting the public health and safety of all residents and all of our customers.
People want to dispose of large items, they just leave it at a convenient spot for them. And an inconvenient spot for someone else, it becomes an abandoned material dump that we are responsible to collect.
What abandoned waste consists of is improperly disposed of bulky items like couches,
dressers, mattresses,
refrigerators, electronics,
trash,
Glass,
construction debris,
saunas, boats.
Kids play around it, they don't know. People put toys and stuff out there, you know, kids might get out there and play in those things.
rotten food,
Carcasses of animals,
Syringes,
needles, shanks,
feces.
body fluids, grenades that have been undetonated. Yes, we find absolutely everything.
It promotes habitat for cats, rodents, and insects. By setting something out illegally or without a plan to have it collected in a prompt manner, you potentially put the entire neighborhood, community, kids, animals in danger.
Every neighborhood in the city of Los Angeles is affected by abandoned waste. It is a systemic problem and affects the quality of life for all of our citizens.
People don't realize that services are available that we can get these items removed right away. Set them out appropriately and make a phone call, and our crews would collect those items. They can also go to the city website. There's a large population that are in fear of being identified. There shouldn't be any fear. We're not tracking anybody.
It's already included as part of the sanitation fee for all residents. We will come out and pick up as much as you have. There's no limit to it. You can call us twice a week, 3 times a week, we will come. So there's no reason to discard it in your alleyway or behind your house. We will come with a scheduled appointment and pick it up.
Many of our neighbors are very conscious to keep their property nice and clean, but there are other neighbors who don't take that job responsibility seriously. Once past their own property line, they don't necessarily feel like what's in front of their property is for them to be responsible for.
This is such an overwhelming problem. High-density apartment areas where there's multiple residents that are all constantly moving in and out of the units. Either they get evicted or they decide they're going to go and live somewhere else. If you're moving in, you have debris that you generated, or if you're moving out, you may discard of items that you don't particularly want to take with you, and they all end up in our alleys and our parkways.
Some of the harder hit areas have been in South Los Angeles and many areas in the Valley, which face a lot of commercial dumping because you have a lot of industries and companies working there who don't always dispose of waste properly.
It is illegal to dump any material on any of the city streets or alleys without letting someone know. People who illegally dump could potentially be identified and could be prosecuted.
It is a crime. Actually, there is a task force being formed by the city attorney in cooperation with sanitation that will begin to prosecute those chronic dumpers. We are paying a lot of attention, and with the help of the city attorney, we will revitalize the entire environmental landscape for all Angelenos. We're on the front lines every day. We have crews that go out and do regular bulky item sweeps in every neighborhood of this city.
To pick up illegal dumping and bulky items, there's 110 trucks that run out of here.
Most of the stuff that I collect has roaches and bed bugs. It's kind of scary. Like I can pick up a piece of wood on the ground and you'll see like roaches just scatter everywhere, and I'm dancing, trying to avoid them and stuff.
The gentleman that we were sending there to clean up had to suit up in hazmat suits and quarantine or sanitize the whole area and remove the biohazard and the sharp hazards before we can actually go in there and pick up trash and bulky items.
They provide us with dust mask and goggles and scalp guard to protect us, and gloves as well. And we always have to wear our protective boots. Keep it away from me because I don't want to take anything home.
TVs and computers and white goods, which is refrigerators, stoves, and all that gets recycled. We would remove the mattresses from there and recycle those also.
Tires are not something that can go into our landfills. They have to be recycled and recycled properly. We also take out the overgrown vegetation and brush. We do everything, and we don't want to leave it in any state other than pristine. Our mission is to protect the public health and safety. We are very committed to high customer service and providing safe neighborhoods for all of our communities. When we clean up abandoned waste in neighborhoods, we get an overwhelming positive reaction. We've gotten so many phone calls thanking us from the residents and the neighborhoods and the council offices and neighborhood councils, everyone. We've had people stand out on their porches clapping, and they come out and they're like, we haven't seen our alleyway in like 10 years.
Yeah, a lot of people, they'll honk and they'll tell me thank you and all that. You know, I've been waiting for somebody to take care of this, you know. Sometimes I feel like the ice cream man out there.
When we've gone in and cleaned up these alleys, we've gotten people saying, what do I do the next time that someone comes and dumps? And we ask them to call our hotline that is open 7 days a week. We want community engagement and participation to make this a safe environment for all Angelenos.
I believe that getting the public involved is key. So we like to promote ownership of what's in front of my property. It could really improve the quality of life in any neighborhood if the residents take these resources, apply them, and maintain them over time. They will see a difference in their neighborhoods. I've seen it done.
My commitment to the residents of Los Angeles is to assist them to clean up their communities as best as we can. You know, it's a two-way street. We need their help as well. All you have to do is call the number and we'll be out here to gladly collect it for free.
Anytime I see anything in the neighborhood, whenever I see mattresses, furniture, I go home and I call. Just like that, they're picked up.
We try to have a 48-hour turnaround time to go out and pick up these items, and we try to make it closer to 24. Just make that phone call.
You can call 311. If there's a trash can on the side of the trash can, there's an 800 number. Call that.
1-800-773-CITY. They would be able to provide you with all the information. Se habla español y cualquier idioma que quieran. Any other language that you wish. They can also go to those city websites. Just let us know where approximately it is.
And we'll go right out and pick it up. We encourage all of our customers and any resident that spots abandoned waste on city streets or alleyways to call 311 or our hotline directly.
We all live here in LA. We want to make it as beautiful as possible.
We're sitting in Jardín del Río Community Garden in Elysian Valley. Geographically, we are within close proximity of the LA River. northeast of Dodger Stadium and north of Chinatown. As a kid growing up in Elysian Valley, this was a playground, overtaken by the gangs at some point in time, abandoned by the city. And for the longest of times, it was an empty lot. The idea grew to build a garden here. You see now, it's just this beautiful oasis. It's beautified the neighborhood, the very street that the garden sits on, Riverdale. It's special in so many ways. It's special because it's my first home. This is the place where my children have grown. It's a very diverse street, very reflective of Los Angeles. When my kids were young, the LA River was simply not very inviting. It was more a place that you try to avoid. It was thought to be dirty. It was thought to be a place where perhaps not the friendliest of people hung out. Where now we walk, we bike alongside the river, we will climb down the embankment and take on the view, feed a duck, play in the water. We have kayak on the river now. Riverdale actually feeds to the LA River. So Riverdale becoming a green street, it seemed natural.
So Green Street is really a project that looks to capture and filter or infiltrate stormwater to recharge our groundwater. Our streets are really rivers that have been paved over, and they've been debilitated from performing those natural functions that streams provide. So now it's how do these coexist? And Public Works is really trying hard to readdress this, and we have to do it dynamically with the community so that they become part of the solution.
There was a project that came to us by way of LA Public Works and other nonprofit organizations that saw the street, saw the garden, they saw a natural tie to introduce this Waterwise project.
What would have happened before was the water would have gone straight from the streets to the river, but now we've got all this extra infiltration area where water can be absorbed through the bioswales or the pervious areas that we've created. So it slows the water down. It also allows us to filter the stormwater, and it treats it before it goes underground into this large bioswale along the whole street. Most of the water that we infiltrate into the groundwater areas is able to be reused for drinking water. That also helps us downstream to reduce flooding.
If you manage to allow the water to seep down, as opposed to just be a straight run, a lot of that very water gets settled and cleaned. So you lessen the water runoff and you end up with cleaner water when it does finally emerge onto the river. The project itself excavated the sidewalks so that they could install this drainage underneath. So aside from getting this green benefit, this environmental friendly project, we got new sidewalks. You can tell the difference now that the project is in versus when you had nothing.
You have a cooler neighborhood, you have a more beautiful neighborhood.
Most residents had grass. So when the rains came, there was a considerable flow of water evident on the streets. And we brought in drought-resistant plantation, permeable stones that people had a say in. They actually saw it as an improvement to the facade of their home. When the outreach was unfolding to each neighbor, there was a handful of options. Okay, you can go with a medium that is going to be all plants. You can have the option of all permeable stones. You can have a combination of the two. And would you like a tree? I'm standing on permeable stones that I had a say in selecting. I actually got to choose the color that I wanted. I've planted a given element here that is different from what my neighbor across the street has. Initially, the city volunteered a 2-year irrigation period following the installation of the project. Well, those 2 years came and went. Now what happens thereafter? Now it's us. And it's just talking to my neighbors, getting them to understand how important it is, how blessed we are to have had this improvement on our block. Let's keep what was given to us. Let's keep our block beautiful, and let's let everybody benefit from having it.
The community actually selected what was going in front of their house because they're being asked to support it. And you know, it's really based on individuals, and we know that. The city is a lot of individuals in different cultures and communities that come together, but as a group, we have to come together and understand stormwater better. We have professional groups that are getting together now to help educate each other, and so that we're all speaking the same language and that we understand stormwater goals as a community and as a city. And when I see the community is able to appreciate something that really has a function, that does function for the larger good, for the stormwater and for our flood control and for our water supply, I don't think that you could ask for a better outcome.
One of the most rewarding elements is that neighbors who previously did not know each other got to know one another because they had a common place of gathering. Add to that, you know, they're growing their own garden. The place is much improved. The beautification element that has followed has risen property values. As the head of the neighborhood watch in this community, I have too seen an improvement in safety. There's greater awareness, the lights are on, people are out where they perhaps previously were less inclined to be out. Now they're out, now they're looking after one another, they're talking to each other. So Riverdale becoming a green street has been a plus.
There's a huge nature deficit disorder in our youth right now, and they don't connect with nature always the way that we got to in my generation. And I think now we want to encourage that again, and these greenways will help to do that. Those waters that are leading to the receiving waters, which happen to be the LA River or the Santa Monica Bay or the Port of LA, have to be monitored, and our office is in charge of doing that. Where we have the outfall into the LA River, from that point and all the way up into the headwaters, we need to clean that water and keep it clean all the way until it reaches the destination. The funding for this project, which was from the Coastal Conservancy, normally doesn't fund inland projects. They funded us because they understood the value of taking an inland project like this and applying it over a distributed area like the city. The city as a park concept really hasn't been explored by a major city, and LA is an innovator. There are 3 Green Street projects that we use to pilot test the measures that we would be applying all over the city. There's Oros Street, Riverdale, and Elmer Street. This is a project of the Public Works Department. All of our bureaus work together to install this project with a grant from the Coastal Conservancy. I think that the success of future bond measures or any funding is going to depend on the public becoming educated. And if greenways and if nature leads us to our receiving waters, our mountains, our streams, and our rivers, then our whole city becomes something that the people can enjoy in a different way, and that I think will set a precedent for the country.
Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning.
Violent thunderstorms lashed Southern California.
Was
covered in up to 5 feet of mud.
This area is devastated.
California's busy Interstate 5 became a river of mud.
Within 45 seconds, the water became 3 feet higher.
Angelinas need to know the water temperature of what is in the Pacific Ocean is more extreme than any we've seen, and that makes it more likely that we'll be battered by historically large storms. We see that that is probably something that is a manifestation of climate change.
Some of the biggest potential damage or impacts would be the coastal area.
We have flooding, we have mud and debris flows, we could have hill slippages, we could have infrastructure damage because of the heavy rains which come from flooding.
The city has started talking to our federal partners, the Weather Service, looking at our state emergency and local emergency teams, and I issued an executive directive that all the different departments of the city need to have a work group that is preparing for the storms, and that people are helping us do the things to prepare out on the street level. Angelinas need to be prepared. They need to make sure that their families have a plan, make sure they have a plan for their place of work. All of us should make sure that at the local level and at our neighborhood level and at our home level, we are hoping for the best and preparing for the worst.
How can you be ready? You need to make sure to protect yourself when it rains.
Preparedness starts with the individual. Individual preparedness means household preparedness, means block preparedness, means community preparedness. Most of the crises that we prepare for are essentially no-notice events. So we have to be prepared all the time. We have the 5-step neighborhood plan on our website. You can go there and it tells you the 5 steps that you need to go through to actually build and develop a plan. We ask all Angelinos or anyone that wants the information to go and sign up for the city's mass notification system. It allows us to target certain areas to actually give specific information when people may be in harm's way. We need to give certain warnings or awareness information, whether it's natural or man-made crisis.
Have a good pair of shoes at your bedside. If something happens at 3 in the morning, flashlight, then you can put on your good pair of shoes before you run down the hallway to get the kids.
I have water, canned or dehydrated food for up to 72 hours, first aid equipment, an inverter, so we can put that on the car battery and it's enough power to at least drive a refrigerator to keep perishable goods safe.
A lot of people have asked, what can we do when we see that, the trash even today is backing up on those storm drain inserts that we have? What can we do to help make sure that those are cleared out in my area so that my neighborhood doesn't flood?
Some of the actions you can take, you can improve the drainages around your home or your property.
There was some flooding in one of my colleagues' districts during a heavy rain, and it was because a trash can fell over and blocked a storm drain. Something that simple can cause big problems.
Before the rain, Take the time and energy to make sure to clean out your own drains and gutters around your buildings. If you're in like a multi-family dwelling, apartment, or condo complex, they have large flat roofs. And if those drains are plugged up, you can get water collecting on the top, and the roofs can actually collapse from the weight of the water.
If you see your local meteorologist putting up a rain gutter or patching a roof, you should do the same thing.
If you have a specific wastewater or stormwater issue, our Wastewater Collection System Division 24-hour number is 213-485-7575.
Most homeowners' insurance does not cover for floodwater. The important thing is to purchase flood insurance. It's a separate insurance policy. It takes 30 days to enact.
Your Department of Water and Power right now will pay for you to get rain barrels. We'll give you $100 per rain barrel, which is much more than the cost, so that you can cover also the installation cost. It also helps relieve the impact of what's going into our storm drains as well.
Recheck after it rains, because usually the first rain will knock a lot of tree leaves and yard trimmings down. Those can actually plug up everything that you've just made sure is perfectly clean. Make sure to check with your neighbor that they're ready. You may be perfectly prepared, and if they're not, their backyard may suddenly decide to migrate into your front yard.
In this situation, it is crucial that you get to know your neighbors, get down to the fire station, knock on their door, let them know where you're at.
Every fire station in LA City has sandbags available for free, and isolated fire stations, you can call your local fire station, have the sand to actually fill them. They're not to be used for damming, they're to be used to divert water away from entrances and areas of your home.
You need an analog plan in a digital age. You need to know in your place of work and with your family in your home, where are you going to assemble? Where are you going to get to? Where are you going to go to make sure that you can find each other? Power can go out in this city. You may not have cell phone coverage if everybody is on at the same time, though one of the historic things that we've done to prepare for this and for an earthquake in the future is we're the first big city in America to be able to share bandwidth among all 4 major cell phone carriers.
If you have a smartphone and it's gone off with a really awful tone to get your attention, that's called a wireless emergency alert. This is when all the bells and whistles go off.
The other thing is that you can actually get a weather radio that will give you the emergency weather.
Watch comes first, warnings worst case scenario, advisories a lower threshold. Flash flood watch means the potential exists that we're going to see flash flooding at a later time. A warning is the worst case scenario. That means to protect your life and property by taking all actions possible to get out of the way of the water. Turn on the news, the media will be talking about these big storms coming.
LAFD.org, the Emergency Management Department website, MySafeLA, they all have information as far as up-to-date weather conditions, and specifically MySafeLA has a myriad of videos and instructional preparation for a variety of public safety and life safety issues.
You can monitor our webpage for local forecast and any of the warnings. It's weather.gov/Los Angeles. Social media is also a big player for how to stay informed about the weather and what's coming.
Please also help us by saying, look, there are folks that sleep on the street over here, there's an encampment over there, and we'll try to get people up and out of that beforehand.
Please slow down. It doesn't take a whole lot of rain to make the road slick.
The number one reason for fatalities during weather events is people driving into moving water. So our message is turn around, don't drown. It only takes about 1.5 to 2 feet of water to move your vehicle, and that's the highest number of fatalities. The second number is people walking in water. It only takes about 6 inches of water to sweep you off your feet.
Avoid hillsides, steep slopes, rivers, channels, storm drains, flood control basins. They're all very dangerous, and to really the untrained eye, they don't seem that dangerous, but they really are. In the swift water environment, 1/3 of all fatalities are actually rescuers.
People need to be prepared. Sign up for emergency alerts that come straight to your cell phone. Prepare those emergency plans. Check your insurance to make sure you're covered. All of those things in preparation for the storms. Do it now instead of waiting for the 2 days, before you hear it on the news that it's coming. Now is the time to plan.